Proposals. Proposals come in super formal as well as informal varieties as they represent your documented plan for the events. I'm going to focus on the more formal variety because you can always scale it down as you need from here. A proposal, in the technical sense, is a document that tries to persuade the reader to implement a proposed plan or approve a proposed project. Most businesses rely on effective proposal writing to ensure successful continuation of their business and to get new contracts. So your purpose is to convince the reader that the plan is valuable. It's really worth the time, energy, and expense necessary to implement or see it through, with some tangible benefits. Proposals are often written in response to a request for proposal, RFP, by government agencies, organizations, or other companies. The requesting body receives multiple proposals responding to their request. They review all of those submitted proposals and choose the best one to move forward. Their evaluation of the submitted proposals are often based on a rubric that basically grades the elements of the proposal. So in that way, it's really just building on the skills you practice in every class. When you read an assignment sheet, deliver on what is asked, and get judged for how well you accomplish that task, an RFP is just like a high-stakes business version of that. Usually an RFP, and then typically sections for proposals, ask for a few key elements that are good in all good plans. An introduction or background section, a statement of the problem to be solved or opportunity to improve, innovate, your purpose, motivation, goals, and objectives, a definition of the scope and your approach, and a situation analysis, the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental or ethical factors in the market. A technical background section, a project description, a schedule of the work and timeline, a validation plan or quality assurance standards, budget, maybe your qualifications, and a conclusion. There are 4 kinds of proposals, categorized in terms of whether or not they were requested and whether they are meant to solve a problem within your own organization or for someone else. So the first is solicited proposals. An organization identifies a situation it wants to improve or a problem that it wants to solve and issues that RFP asking for proposals on how to address it. Unsolicited proposals are when a writer perceives a problem or opportunity and takes the initiative to propose a way to solve that problem or take advantage of that opportunity. It's not responding to a request, though. This can often be the most difficult kind of proposal to get approved since no one's asking for it. Now, internal proposals, these are written by someone within the same organization. Since both the reader and the writer share the same workplace context, these proposals are generally shorter than external versions and usually address some way to improve your specific work-related situation. Things for productivity, efficiency, profit, etc. And last, external proposals. These are sent outside of your organization, usually to solicit business. Since these are external documents, they are usually sent as highly formal reports if they're long and introduced by a cover letter or a letter of transmittal. An important note, even though proposals are persuasive with a goal to convince the reader that your plan is great and you are qualified to execute on that plan, they are not advertisements or marketing materials. The persuasive appeals really come from a strong sense of logos, right? The logical appeal with objective language, thoroughness, and clarity. You become more persuasive in this context when you have a super detailed, clearly reasonable, fully feasible plan laid out for people to see the value and the likelihood of your success. So, a few considerations in language just to help us get to that strong plan. First, remain solution-oriented and constructive. You are seeking to improve a situation and not just pointing out everything that is wrong. Be clear and coherent. Don't confuse your reader with details or have that sort of illogical organization structure. Just remember, when people feel confused or frustrated, they are less likely to approve what you need, so make it easy. Be concise and courteous. Don't annoy your reader with clutter, unnecessary elements and design, inappropriate tone, or any hard-to-read formatting. Again, confusion and frustration are not our friends when we're trying to persuade folks. And be concrete and complete. Avoid vague generalities, give specifics. One of the best lines I've ever heard, which honestly has helped me so much in my productivity and personal and professional situations, comes from Switch, this book about change leadership written by Chip and Dan Heath. They provided the mantra, soon is not a time, some is not a number. Basically, what that means is stop and define every element in the plan so it can be measurable and held to account. And last, make sure it's correct. Don't undermine your professional credibility by neglecting grammar and spelling or including inaccurate information, obviously. If there was ever a time to triple spell check with all of our tools and then print a copy of your document to read carefully, give a copy to someone else to mark potential issues, and then spell check again and then reread again, your high-stakes proposal is it for sure. I find that reading it backwards, so starting at the end and looking at the sentences starting with the periods, makes me actually pay attention to every word that's on the page. When we read and reread our work in order, it's easier to miss mistakes because our brains know what we meant to say and usually just fills in the correct thing. But printing it out to a new format or reading it backwards sort of forces our brains to stop and refocus on what's actually in front of them instead of filling in what they wanted to see. So we write our persuasive proposals by focusing on solutions, clarity, and evidence. Even if a formal proposal isn't necessary for the situation, like in a lot of school projects or personal projects, the practice of figuring out your plan and writing it down somewhere increases the likelihood that you will finish it successfully and with higher quality. Plans are good. We love plans. Proposals are really just super detailed plans. Now, if you need a little break, take 90 seconds to refocus, and then we're going to talk about personal correspondence.